You know, they say money can't buy love, but I learned the hard way that it sure can buy respect. And when that respect gets thrown back in your face by the one person you die for, well, that's when you realize just how much power you really have. My name is David, and this is the story of how my son called me embarrassing, how he said I was a burden, and how I made him understand that I wasn't just his father, I was his entire financial lifeline. Before we dive into this wild ride, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one because what happened next changed everything. It all started on a Tuesday morning in March. I remember it clearly because it was the day I was supposed to feel proud. My son Marcus had just graduated from Columbia University with his MBA, and I was driving my 15-year-old Honda Civic to his graduation ceremony. Yeah, you heard that right? A Honda Civic, while Marcus was stepping out of his brand new BMW, the one I'd been making payments on for the past 3 years. I pulled into the parking lot of the prestigious university, and there he was, my 26-year-old son, looking sharp in his tailored suit, the same suit I'd bought him for job interviews. He was surrounded by his classmates and their families, all of them stepping out of luxury cars, wearing designer clothes, carrying themselves like they owned the world. And then there was me, in my JCPenney slacks and a shirt I'd had for 5 years, walking toward the group with the biggest smile on my face. "Dad," Marcus called out, but something in his voice made me pause. It wasn't excitement, it wasn't joy, it was embarrassment. "Hey, son," I called back, opening my arms for a hug. That's when I saw it, the look. You know the one? The same look you give when you step in something unpleasant on the sidewalk. Marcus glanced around at his friends, then back at me, and I watched as his shoulders tensed up. "Dad, maybe we should meet up later," he said quietly, stepping closer to me but keeping his voice low. "I'm kind of in the middle of networking here." Networking. At his own graduation, with his own father, but I brushed it off. I figured he was just excited, maybe a little overwhelmed. I mean, this was his big day, right? I'd been planning this, moment for months, had even taken time off work, unpaid time off, mind you, because as a maintenance supervisor at a local manufacturing plant, I didn't get the luxury of paid vacation days. The ceremony was beautiful. I sat in the back, watching my son walk across that stage, and I felt this overwhelming sense of pride. This kid, this brilliant, accomplished young man, was mine. I'd raised him. I'd sacrificed for him. Every dollar I'd ever earned since he was born had gone toward making this moment possible. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Families mingled, took photos, celebrated their children's achievements. I approached Marcus and his group of friends, ready to finally meet the people he'd been talking about for the past 2 years. "Marcus," I said, walking up with my phone ready to take some pictures. "Come on, let's get some photos of the graduate." That's when everything changed. Marcus looked at his friends, then at me, and I saw something in his eyes that I'd never seen before. Shame. He was ashamed of me. "Dad," he said, his voice tight with frustration, "you're being embarrassing." The words hit me like a physical blow. Embarrassing. Me, the man who'd worked double shifts to pay for his college, the man who'd eaten ramen noodles for dinner so he could afford his textbooks, the man who'd driven a 15-year-old car so he could lease him a BMW. But wait, it gets worse. One of his friends, some kid named Bradley, whose father apparently owned a chain of restaurants, smirked and said, "Dude, is this your dad? The one who works at the factory?" I watched as my son's face turned red, not with anger at his friend's disrespectful comment, but with embarrassment. "Of me." "Yeah," Marcus mumbled. "Dad, maybe you should head home. I'm going out with some friends to celebrate." Head home, for my own son's graduation, and then came the words that changed everything. "Honestly, Dad, sometimes I feel like you're more of a burden than a help. You don't understand the world I'm moving into now. A burden, 26 years of sacrifice, and I was a burden." I stood there for a moment, surrounded by all these wealthy families in my J.C. Penney clothes and my worn-out shoes, and I felt something inside me snap. Not break. Snap. Like a rubber band that's been stretched too far. "You know what, Marcus?" I said quietly. "You're absolutely right." He looked confused. "What?" "I am a burden. And you know what burdens do? They get lifted." I turned around and walked away, leaving my son standing there with his mouth open. I got in my Honda Civic, drove home to my small two-bedroom apartment, and I sat down at my kitchen table with a calculator, a notebook, and 26 years' worth of receipts, bank statements, and records. See, here's the thing about being a single father who's worked his entire adult life to support his child. You keep track of every penny. You have to. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, making sure your kid has everything he needs, you document everything. And I mean everything. The private elementary school tuition, $127,000 over 6 years. The private high school, $156,000 over 4 years. Columbia University undergraduate degree, $312,000. Columbia MBA program, $198,000. The BMW lease payments, $847 per month for 36 months so far. The insurance on that BMW, $290 per month. The Manhattan apartment I'd been helping him pay for during school, $2,800 per month for 4 years. Spring break trips, $23,000 total. Summer study abroad programs, $45,000. The laptop, the clothes, the spending money, the emergency funds when he just needed a little help with expenses. Before we continue with what happened next, make sure you're subscribed because this story is about to take a turn that nobody, not even Marcus, saw coming. And drop a comment letting me know if you think I was wrong for what I did next. Spent the next 3 hours calculating, and when I was done, I stared at the number on my notebook. Over the past 26 years, I had given my son, directly or indirectly, $147,000, $1.2 million, money I'd earned working 60-hour weeks, money I'd saved by living in the cheapest apartments I could find, money I'd scraped together by driving used cars, buying generic groceries, and never, ever buying anything for myself that wasn't absolutely necessary, $247,382 that apparently made me a burden. I picked up my phone and called Marcus. It went straight to voicemail. "Hey, son," I said after the beep. "It's your burden of a father. I've been thinking about what you said today, and you're right. I have been holding you back. So I'm going to fix that. We need to talk. Come by tomorrow evening." He didn't call back. The next evening, Marcus showed up at my apartment driving his BMW, wearing a designer jacket I'd bought him for Christmas. He walked in like he owned the place, which I guess, in a way, he thought he did. "Dad, look, about yesterday," he started. "Sit down," I interrupted. Something in my tone made him pause. He sat. I placed the notebook in front of him. "Do you know what this is?" He glanced at it. "Your notebook?" "This," I said, "is an itemized list of every single dollar I have spent on you since the day you were born. Every school payment, every car payment, every rent payment, every emergency loan, every spring break trip, every designer jacket, everything." Marcus looked uncomfortable. "Dad, what's your point?" "My point," I said, flipping to the last page, "is that this number right here, $1,247,382, represents 26 years of me being what you called a burden." His face went pale. $1.2 million. $1.247,382 to be exact. "Dad, I didn't mean—" "Oh, but you did mean it," I said calmly. "And you know what? You were right. I have been a burden. I've been carrying the financial weight of your entire adult life. And you're right. That's not fair to you. You're a grown man with an MBA from Columbia. You shouldn't have to deal with the burden of having a father who's been supporting you. Dad, please. So I'm going to fix this problem," I continued. "I'm going to remove the burden." I pulled out another piece of paper, a loan agreement I'd had a lawyer friend draft up that morning. "This is a formal loan agreement," I said. It outlines the $1,247,382 that you now owe me with a very reasonable interest rate of 6% annually. Your monthly payment will be $14,847, and you'll have it paid off in just over 7 years, Marcus D. Stared at the paper like it might bite him. $14,247 a month? That's less than what I was paying for your expenses anyway, I said cheerfully. I figure with that MBA and your new job at Goldman Sachs, the one I helped you get by paying for your education, you should be able to handle it just fine. Dad, this is insane. I can't afford $15,000 a month. Oh, but Marcus, I said, leaning back in my chair, you won't be paying me $15,000 a month. He looked confused. What do you mean? You'll be paying me $14,840, I said. But that's just the beginning. See, there are some immediate changes that need to happen since you're now financially independent and no longer burdened by your embarrassing father. I pulled out my phone and started making calls right there in front of him. First call. BMW Financial Services? Yes, I need to report a vehicle for repossession. The account holder can no longer make payments. Marcus's eyes went wide. Dad, no. Second call. Yes, this is David Chen. I need to remove my name from my son's apartment lease and stop the automatic payments from my account, effective immediately. Third call. American Express? I need to cancel the supplementary card for Marcus Chen and remove him as an authorized user on my account. Fourth call. Geico Insurance? I need to remove a vehicle from my policy. By the time I finished the calls, Marcus was standing up, pacing around my small living room. Dad, you can't do this. I'll be homeless. I need that car for work. My credit cards. Marcus, I said calmly, you're a grown man with an MBA. You told me I was embarrassing and a burden. Well, burdens get lifted. I'm lifting myself right out of your life. But I'll lose everything. No, I corrected. You'll lose everything that I was paying for. Everything that was making me such a burden to you. The next few days were interesting. Marcus called me 17 times the first day. I didn't answer. He showed up at my apartment on day 2 after his BMW had been repossessed, after he'd been evicted from his Manhattan apartment, after his credit cards had been canceled. Dad, please, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Oh, but you did mean it, I said through the door, and I heard you loud and clear. I'm staying at Bradley's place, but his parents are asking questions. I need help. Marcus, I said, opening the door just wide enough to see his face, what you need is to understand that actions have consequences. You're 26 years old, with an MBA from Columbia. Figure it out. I closed the door. Day 3. Dad, I got fired. They said my performance review mentioned attitude problems and entitlement issues. I need to move back in with you, through the door. My lease doesn't allow additional tenants. Sorry. Day 4. Dad, I'm at a homeless shelter, please. I'll be honest with you. That one almost got me. Almost. But then I remembered the look in his eyes at his graduation. The shame, the embarrassment. Day 5. Marcus showed up with Bradley, who apparently thought he could intimidate me. Mr. Chen, Bradley said in his entitled rich kid voice, you're being unreasonable. Marcus made a mistake, but destroying his life over it is extreme. I looked at this kid, this spoiled brat whose daddy owned restaurants, and I smiled. Bradley, right? You're the one who asked if I was the dad who works at the factory? Well, yeah, but here's the thing, Bradley. I do work at a factory. I'm a maintenance supervisor, and I make $67,000 a year. Your friend Marcus here has cost me $1.2 million over the past 26 years. That means I've spent 18 times my annual salary raising him. I've sacrificed everything, my comfort, my retirement, my own happiness, to give him opportunities. And when he finally achieved his dreams, he was embarrassed by the man who made it all possible. I stepped closer to Bradley. So, tell me, kid, exactly how much of your daddy's money have you spent on Marcus since he became homeless? How much have you sacrificed for your friend? Bradley looked uncomfortable. Well, I mean, my parents... That's what I thought, I said. You can judge my parenting when you've spent a decade and a half eating ramen so your friend can eat steak. Bradley left. Marcus stayed. Dad, he said quietly, I get it. I was wrong. I was horrible. But I'm your son. Yes, I agreed. You are my son, and I love you. But love doesn't mean enabling bad behavior. It doesn't mean accepting disrespect. And it sure doesn't mean continuing to financially support someone who sees me as a burden. So what do I have to do? He asked. How do I fix this? Here's where you might think I caved. Where you might think I just welcomed him back with open arms, canceled the debt, and pretended nothing happened. But you'd be wrong. You want to fix this? I asked. Here's how you fix this. You get a job. Any job. You find a place to live that you can afford with your own money. You learn to budget, to sacrifice, to understand what it means to work for something. And then, when you truly understand what I've given up for you, we can talk about rebuilding our relationship. But the loan stands, I said firmly, every penny of it. You want to be treated like an adult? Adults pay their debts. Marcus stared at me for a long moment. You're serious. Dead serious. What if I can't get a good job? What if I can't make those payments? Then you'll learn what millions of people learn every day, I said. You'll learn to live within your means. He left that day, and I didn't hear from him for 3 weeks. But here's where the story gets interesting, and where you're going to want to hit that subscribe button and share this video, because what happened next proves that sometimes tough love really does work. 3 weeks later, Marcus called me. Dad, I got a job. Congratulations, I said, and I meant it. It's not Goldman Sachs, he said quickly. It's a financial planning firm in Queens. The pay is, well, it's not what I expected with my MBA. What's the pay? $52,000 a year. I did some quick math. Marcus, that's about $4,300 a month gross pay. After taxes, you're looking at maybe $3,200 take-home. You realize the loan payment is $14,847 a month, right? Silence. I know, Dad. I can't make those payments. So what are you going to do? I was hoping maybe we could renegotiate. This was it. The moment of truth. The moment where I had to decide whether my tough love approach was working or whether I was just being cruel. Tell me about the job, I said. It's helping regular families plan their finances. People who make $40,000 or $60,000 a year and want to figure out how to save for their kids' college or their retirement. People like, he paused, people like you. I felt something shift in my chest. And how do you feel about working with people like me? Dad, I've learned a lot in the past month. Living in a studio apartment in Queens that costs half my paycheck, taking the subway instead of driving a BMW, eating at home instead of going to restaurants every night. I've learned what it means to actually live on a budget. And I realize that you didn't just give me money all those years, you gave me your life. You could have had a nice car, a nice apartment, vacations, retirement savings. Instead, you gave me everything you had. I felt tears welling up in my eyes, but I wasn't done yet. Marcus, do you remember what you said to me at your graduation? I said you were embarrassing and that you were a burden. That's right. Do you still feel that way? Silence for a long moment. Then, Dad, the people I work with now, they talk about their parents with so much respect. They talk about the sacrifices their families made, the hard work, the love. And I realized that I was the embarrassing one. Not you. I was embarrassed by the man who sacrificed everything for me, and that makes me a terrible person. Now I was crying, but I still wasn't ready to let him off the hook completely. The loan still stands, I said. I know, but here's what we're going to do. You're going to pay me what you can afford, let's say $500 a month, and you're going to work your way up in your career, not because you're entitled to success, but because you're going to earn it. $500 a month for the rest of my life? No, I said. $500 a month until you've learned the value of hard work and sacrifice, until you've proven that you understand what it means to be grateful instead of entitled, and then we'll see. How? Will I prove that? I thought about it for a moment. When you can look at me in public at a restaurant, at a store, at your workplace, and introduce me as your father with pride instead of embarrassment, then we'll talk about reducing the debt. And if I can do that, if you can do that, and if you can show me that you've learned to live within your means, to work hard, and to treat people with respect regardless of their income or job title, then I might consider forgiving some of the debt. Some of it? Marcus, I'm not going to hand you back your old life. That life was built on entitlement and disrespect. Your new life needs to be built on character and gratitude. 6 months later, Marcus invited me to his company's holiday party. He picked me up in his used Honda Accord, the one he'd saved up for and bought himself. He was wearing a nice but affordable suit, the kind you can get at Men's Warehouse, not the designer stuff I used to buy him. We walked into the party together, and I watched as he introduced me to his colleagues. Everyone, I want you to meet my father, David Chen. He's a maintenance supervisor at Morrison Manufacturing, and he's the hardest working man I know. Not embarrassed, not ashamed, proud. One of his colleagues said, "Oh, you work at Morrison. My brother-in-law works there too, says it's a good company." "It is," I said. 32 years this coming spring. 32 years, the colleague repeated, impressed. That's incredible dedication. Marcus smiled at me. My dad has incredible dedication to everything he does. Later that night, as he drove me home in his Honda Accord, Marcus said, "Dad, I've been thinking about the loan." "Yeah? I don't want you to forgive it." I was surprised. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I want to pay you back, all of it. It might take me 20 years, but I want to pay back every dollar, not because I have to, but because I want to. Because you deserve it." I looked at my son, really looked at him, and I saw something I hadn't seen since he was a little boy. I saw gratitude, I saw respect, I saw a man who had learned the value of hard work. "You know what, son?" "What? Let's talk about it." That night I went home and revised the loan agreement. Instead of $1.2 million at 6% interest, I changed it to the actual out-of-pocket expenses, about $847,000, with 0% interest and payments based on his ability to pay. Not because I was going soft, but because he had learned the lesson. A year later, Marcus got promoted to senior financial planner. His salary went up to $78,000. He immediately increased his monthly payment to me to $1,000. 2 years later, he was making $95,000. He moved to a nicer apartment, not in Manhattan, but a one-bedroom in a decent neighborhood in Queens. He increased his payment to $1,500. 3 years later, he became a partner in the firm. He called me on a Tuesday morning. "Dad, I want to take you somewhere." "Where?" "BMW dealership." My heart sank. "Marcus, please don't tell me you're going back to your old ways." "No, Dad," he said, laughing. "I want to buy you a car. Son, I don't need—" "Dad, you've been driving that Honda Civic for 18 years. It has 312,000 miles on it. Let me do this." We went to the BMW dealership, and Marcus bought me a brand new BMW 3 Series, paid cash. "Where did you get this money?" I asked. "I've been saving," he said, "living below my means, just like you taught. Me, I've got money in the bank, a good credit score, and a business that's doing well. And I wanted to do something for the man who gave me everything." As we drove home in my new car, my son driving, me in the passenger seat, I realized something. The money hadn't been the point. The loan, the tough love, the consequences. None of that had really been about the money. It had been about respect. For 26 years, I had given my son everything I had, and he had taken it for granted. He had seen my sacrifices as normal, expected, unremarkable. He had been embarrassed by the man who made his life possible. But when I took it all away, when I forced him to understand what life was like without my financial support, he finally understood what I had given him. Not just money, but love. Not just payments, but sacrifice. Not just support, but my entire adult life dedicated to his success. And most importantly, he learned that respect isn't something you're entitled to. It's something you earn. Today, Marcus is 31 years old. He owns his own financial planning firm, specializing in helping working-class families build wealth. He's married to a wonderful woman named Sarah, who loves him for who he is, not what he has. They have a 2-year-old daughter named Grace. Every Sunday, we have dinner together, sometimes at my place, sometimes at theirs. We talk about work, about family, about life. And sometimes Marcus tells me stories about his clients, people who remind him of me. "Dad," he said last Sunday, "I had a client today. A single mother works 2 jobs to support her kids' education. She wanted to know if she should take out a loan to pay for her son's college or make him get student loans. What did you tell her?" "I told her what you taught me," he said, "that there's a difference between helping your children and enabling them. That love sometimes means making people work for what they get. The loan? He paid it off last month. All $847,000 of it, with interest that I used to start a college fund for my granddaughter. But more than that, he paid back something even more valuable than money. He paid back respect, gratitude, and love." Before we wrap up this story, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and hit that notification bell, because I share real stories like this one every week. And let me know in the comments, do you think I was too harsh on Marcus? Or do you think sometimes tough love is the only way to teach important lessons? Because here's the thing I learned through all of this. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone isn't money or support or even love. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the opportunity to earn your respect. And sometimes you have to take everything away before someone can truly understand what they had. My son called me embarrassing once, said I was a burden. Today, he calls me his hero. And that transformation didn't cost me a penny. It just cost him everything I'd ever given him. Until he learned to give it back through respect, hard work, and genuine love. That's the real lesson here. Respect isn't inherited, it's earned. And sometimes the people we love the most need to lose everything before they can truly appreciate what they had. Thanks for watching, and remember, hit that subscribe button and let me know where you're watching from in the comments below.